Not very often in my life here locally, whether I was a radio host, a media member, or a student fan, whatever, have I seen a team lose 41-7 and people have optimism from it.
I mean, when your first couple of games are as ugly as they are, any sign of life will lead to positive takeaways, and at least they had a scoring drive.
I will also say this. I don't think most fans, if not all fans, have that. I think the media narrative was fascinating to me. I predicted exactly what would happen in the second half, and I had people telling me in the first half this and that, and then they didn't text me back in the second half, and I thought that was odd. I thought it was all... I thought the effort was there and better. And
well, on my side of it, I'm tired of winning games by 40 points and having to find answers for what's wrong with my football team. Last week,
you gave up a touchdown.
It's 34-0 in the fourth quarter, and then it's, boy, I don't know about how they ended that game. I don't know. And then they had one horrible defensive series, which, yes, I will grant you, is the worst I've seen them play defensive football in maybe 10 years in Eugene, Oregon. That was such a bad series from start to finish. Outside of that one drive, do you know how many first downs Oregon State had the entire game? Take away the one scoring drive. You know how many first downs they had?
2?
3.
That was close.
They had one the entire first half. Oregon State gained one first down the entire second half.
Yeah.
So
you should be panicked.
I'm ready to go play somebody who talent for talent is like a test of where are we at? Where do we need to improve? How does it get better? You learn nothing from these games, and it's fun to watch them, and it's exciting to see your team play, and then you're like, all right, I'm just ready for one that matters.
Well, because your team kicked some field goals and had a couple punts, my team is concluding that their defense is good, even though they gave up almost 600 yards and 41 points.
That is very
true. Their Oregon quarterback had his best career day, as he cited. I was mentally depressed when I played them at Reeser, and I wanted payback.
You could tell he was pressing early in the game. I didn't really play into that storyline last week. Like, I'm always wondering, what am I missing about this game? And that was one that was kind of a blind spot for me. That was he got benched. That was ugly. He threw pick sixes. It was bad when he was in Corvallis.
Him and Lanning watched the game together this past week.
And you could tell that he was early in the game. On the opening drive, they scored, but on the second or third play, he had, I want to say it was Benson down the field wide open, and he overthrew him. And you're like, hasn't done that a lot. And he had some incredible throws on top of it. And as you point out, statistically, the best game of his career. But there were some moments where he looked tight and was kind of pressing early in that game.
Betcher had a really funny post game. He famously is known as the baseball player who's a linebacker. Although I would ask, if you're Bryce Betcher, are you going baseball or football professionally? Because he got drafted right in the 5th round,
somewhere around there.
So, is he gonna? Has he said publicly if he's going to do baseball or football?
I don't think that he has announced what he's going to do.
He did get. The Astros drafted him, and they understood.
13th round.
13th round. Thank you.
Yeah.
And they understood he was going to go back.
They're allowing him to. Yeah, they understand.
They hold his draft rights still.
My money would be on him playing in the NFL.
I would think so, too.
That would be my money. But
he talked in the postgame. He was recruited by Oregon State for baseball, but not to the point where they cared about him as a baseball player. They basically told him he would be down there for a weekend. They'd set him up, and then they called, and then they reached out and said, hey, sorry, we just forgot about you. And he said, don't worry, I haven't forgotten about you, and I will remember this. I'm going to Oregon. And so in the postgame, he dropped one of these lines.
When you try to fight with your big brother, you can put up a little fight in the beginning like they did in the first quarter, but usually after 4 quarters or 4 rounds, big brother usually wins.
Yeah, he has a personal tie to that rivalry.
I don't blame him at all. I understand why people laugh at that, and I just kind of roll my eyes at it because it's not the rivalry that it used to be.
Well, but it meant something to him.
It meant something to him, and that you cannot take away. Anthony tells the story every year when we do the pregame show where he went to an Oregon State camp when he was in middle school, a football camp, and he was trying to play running back or defensive back, and one of the Oregon State coaches on the staff at the time pulled him aside and basically told him, you should think about playing another sport. And he was like, he remembers that. He remembers the coach. He remembers everything about it to this day. And those kind of things, when you're slighted by another staff or another organization, I totally get why it's personal to them.
Trent Bray, they had a delightful little first quarter for themselves. And Trent Bray says, this is who we can be.
Yeah, I think for the first half, we were doing what we wanted to do as far as staying compete, playing hard, on our work. And it was good. And it looked like we wanted to look, kind of let go of the rope in the second half and got back to making the same mistakes that put us in this position. Cut guys loose in the back end, special teams blunders, put the ball on the ground. So it's a tale of 2 halves, and this is how good we are capable of being in that first half. And we need to be at 4 quarters.
That audio courtesy of beaveredge.com because the athletic department didn't post his post game. So obviously that sounds like somebody that's like 15 feet away from him.
Filming with a cell phone.
They don't post video on the road of the coach talking to anybody. It is, it's about as bad an operation for an athletic department as it possibly gets. To not have that or care about it is remarkable to me. I also, I don't know how long his arms are, but man, he's reaching even further to tell me that a tale of two halves. Like, dude, you played okay in the first quarter. You were down 21-7 at halftime, and it didn't look like Oregon was even awake to play the football game.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's pointing at. Watched a punter just run 15 yards on a 4th down because nobody had an assignment to watch the punter run. Just sloppy play. I don't have a lot, man. That score.
This is why I don't want to play the game anymore. I just don't get. There's just nothing out of it.
But this season is especially awful for them. Like, they can lose this in the future and be 3-1, and we'll go, yeah. Oregon is better. Oregon has the horses. There's the difference. It's going in 0-3, looking absolutely lifeless at Texas Tech, choking away Fresno State, and getting smoked out the gate at your home opener as a home favorite against Cal.
Right.
That's the problem with the game. It's not just that the horses are on one side. It's that they were coming in already with bad momentum. And then because they played an okay first quarter, there's some weird narrative that, hey, they tried hard and their defense is really good. It's almost 600 yards of offense they gave up, 41 points. They scored only 7. They have no offensive line. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills listening to some of the narrative stuff.
I mean, some of the narratives are, hey, at least they hiked the ball to the punter. At least you got that down. You didn't have any block punts or balls rolling around on the ground. So that's where the bar is at currently in terms of where you should be as a football program. I would also just add to it, too, like I shouldn't take away the only thing they accomplished in the game, but I am going to. Like, the only reason they scored the touchdown was because Oregon decided to shove their head up their ass defensively for a series and just not guard people and miscommunicate. And they had one of the most obvious screen situations on a 3rd and long because they knew Oregon State wasn't going to stand him back there under pressure because he can't throw under pressure.
No, he can't.
So on 3rd and long, what do you call as an offense coordinator when that's a situation? Your quarterback's in screen. And what did Oregon do against the first screen of the game on a 3rd and long? They all just sprinted after Malik Murphy and forgot about the running back, and they gave up a huge chunk gain. And then on the play that set up the touchdown, it was a complete miscommunication, busted coverage, wide open, wide receiver. So there's times when you're getting beat and you're playing good defense, and you're like, man, tip of the cap, that wasn't terrible. That was just a really nice throw and a really nice catch. That wasn't even necessarily the scenario in their only scoring drive of the game. It was more about Oregon just forgetting to play football. It felt like the start of the game, Oregon came out, scored easily on their opening drive. Oregon State went 3 and out, and they hit the button of, all right, see you later. Oklahoma State all over again. This thing's over. And then it's like, wait a minute, we punted. Then you had a bad defensive series and you had to punt again. And all of a sudden you look up halfway through the second quarter and it's like, all right, guys, we got to get going. And next thing you know, it's 35-7.
To me, it kind of reeked a little bit of Northwestern, to be honest with you. I think Lanning was very complimentary of a lot of things of his team. The defense locked down after the touchdown. Dante had his best career game as a starting quarterback. It just looked like a team that knew Penn State was this week.
Yes.
And most of us were like on the air saying like, oh, it's going to be a blowout. It was a blowout. Just because they didn't cover a number doesn't mean it wasn't a blowout. They blew them out, and there was never a doubt. But it just, to me, I was watching a team who I've watched all year, and albeit the opponents haven't been great, right? Northwestern, Montana State, and Oklahoma State.
No, they've beaten nobody.
But I'd watched that team all year closely enough to say, oh, yeah, they look like they're ready for Penn State, and they have to play a game. Like, they're forced to do this, and they don't really want to because they know they'll win this game. And Oregon State had a moment, and that was it.
Yeah.
Because at one point in the fourth quarter, Malik Murphy was 4 of 16 for 53 yards.
Yeah, that was
one of the worst quarterback stat lines I've ever seen of a quarterback.
He was awful.
In the fourth. Yeah, he was awful.
He was horrible.
His offensive line is awful.
Yeah.
They don't have a running game. Who's his number one target? Their tight ends have been complete no-shows. Trent Walker gets shut down, and you have nobody else. Like, I'm not making excuses for Malik Murphy, but he clearly is the wrong quarterback for whatever this system is, and that system's not operating very well right now. I think they're – God, what was the stat? I forgot to post it, but I saw it, and it's like they're one of the bottom 4 offenses in college football right now from a statistic standpoint.
I mean, it sounds about right. Their rushing yards per game, I want to say, came in the 120s somewhere nationally. They were averaging 70 rushing yards per game coming in, and this weekend they had 67, so the average is going to go down. They had a total of 147 yards of offense. They were 4-12 on third down, and as I pointed out earlier, they had 5 first downs on one series. The rest of the game, they had 3.
Yeah.
And so it just, offensively, I don't know where they're going to go. I think what I would say on the Oregon State side of things, because Oregon will be the bigger storyline the rest of the week, because now they finally play a game that matters and an opponent that can equal them in talent, and I'm very excited to watch that one and finally have some juice the week going into an Oregon game outside of just, hey, what freshmen are going to play in the fourth quarter,
right? What's the future of this?
Right? Like, I'm just excited to actually see a game that matters. For Oregon State, I wasn't going to learn anything about them in this game because the talent gap is so wide. The games that you were going to learn about Oregon State in, and we talked about at the start of the year, was the Cal game in the opener, the Fresno State game in week 2. We weren't quite sure about Texas Tech, who now all of a sudden looks like a playoff team after they blew out Utah this weekend. And then Houston on Friday night. Like, those are games where there's not a Grand Canyon of talent gap difference between the two programs. And can you play competent football for 4 quarters and put up a fight? Like, I think we're going to learn far more on Friday night about Oregon State than we ever would have this weekend, because just from a talent standpoint, they didn't have a chance.